Here we go, Genevieve. It's gonna be great. Just have fun. Have fun. That's a really nice kid pie, though.
Thank you. We are ready to begin. We're going to start on page 61 with the words that a Jew traditionally says when we come to synagogue in the morning. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. How lovely are your dwellings, people of Jacob, your sanctuaries, descendants of Israel. Page 61.
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Just want to say what a pleasure it is to be here with all of you this morning as we celebrate Genevieve becoming bat mitzvah and reading from the Torah and teaching us some Torah this morning. If anyone is watching us on YouTube, I hope someone is. It's nice to have you with us this morning. Mazel tov to you as well. I want to emphasize that the word for what Genevieve is doing this morning is lead and not perform. Her leadership this morning is not intended to be a solo performance. Instead, we welcome and encourage everybody to join in as much as you are able to do so. So to help make that possible, let me just say a couple of things. First of all, our prayer book, as you have, is called Sidur Sim Shalom. And it is laid out in a two-page spread, usually with the Hebrew on the right side and the English on the left side. So if we're reading or singing something in the Hebrew and you want to know what it means, it's over here on the left side. So you can find it there. If anyone who is unfamiliar with the Hebrew would like some help with how to pronounce it, we do have packets of transliteration that are in the back of the sanctuary. If you'd like that, you can get one of those as well. Please also let me ask you just to take a moment to check your cell phones, make sure they're off or at least silenced before we get started. So the phrase bat mitzvah means responsible for the commandments. As a bat mitzvah, it now becomes Genevieve's responsibility to live a Jewish life in accordance with the mitzvot, the commandments, the teachings and traditions of Judaism. While her parents will, of course, continue to guide her and model that life for her, she now takes that responsibility on herself. A talit symbolizes that responsibility through the fringes that are on the corners. The Torah tells us, and Genevieve is going to lead us in chanting in a few moments, that these fringes are designed to help us remember and do all of the mitzvot. Now, as a bat mitzvah, Genevieve is able to wear a talit, and she will do so for the first time officially today. So to present her with her talit, we call out Mary and Josh. One of the mitzvot for which Genevieve is now responsible, as we all are, is that of continued study. Every Jewish morning service begins with an opportunity to study a sacred text. First, however, we join in the blessing for study for the gift of Torah on page 63, towards the bottom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And now we continue with the morning blessings, the blessings for the miracle of everyday life on page 65.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher natan lasech vivina, lehavchin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asali kol tzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotein leha'ef koach.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
Amen. Let's continue together in English at the bottom left of page 65. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, removing sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids. May we feel at home with your Torah and cling to your mitzvot. Keep us from error, from sin and transgression. Bring us not to trial or to disgrace. Let no evil impulse control us. Keep us far from wicked people and corrupt companions. Strengthen our desire to do good deeds. Teach us humility that we may serve you. May we find grace, love, and compassion in your sight and in the sight of all who look upon us, this day and every day. Grant us a full measure of loving kindness. Praised are you, Adonai, who bestows loving kindness upon the people of Israel. We turn now to page 100 as we join in Psalm 150, Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol hanshama tehalel Yah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Kol hanshama tehalel Yah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We turn to page 107 and we rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Vaed. please be seated. And we turn to page 112 as we continue with Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol lavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shivtecha levetecha u'v'letecha v'aderech u'shokbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'ktavta al mezuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha.
Page 113 and the 6th line from the top.
Lema tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'yot lahem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem.
The Torah portion that Genevieve is going to be reading in a little bit takes us back to the time when the Israelites were still slaves in Egypt at the end of the plagues, preparing to leave. And we remember, as we go back and we think about that, we remember what it was like to be those slaves, to be in bondage like that, and the joy that we felt upon being liberated when we got to the sea, got stuck between the Egyptian army coming from behind and the sea in front of us, and then to see the sea part and to find a path through the waves to freedom on the other side. The exaltation of that liberation that the Torah describes our ancestors feeling as they burst out in song and dance, we too celebrate as we join on page 114, Mi Chamocha.
L'shimcha al sfat hayam yachad kulam hodu ve'imlichu ve'amru Adonai himlo le'olam va'ed.
On page 115b, we begin the Amidah, the central section of this part of the service. Please rise. We keep a finger on page 117 and we turn to page 235.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך כל הארץ, כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני למקומו, ודברי קודשתו כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתה נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו, ליבנו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך, כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה, כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We take a few moments now for our own private prayers. If you wish to follow the traditional liturgy of the Siddur, it goes from page 117 to page 120, or you can look inside yourself for the prayers of your own heart and your own soul. When you've had as much time as you'd like, you may be seated. page 120.
Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la la la. Sim, sim, shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha.
Jewish tradition tells us that Moses received the Torah from God at Mount Sinai. He passed it down to Joshua. Joshua passed it down to the leaders of the people, and the leaders passed it down to the rest of the Israelites, from parent to child, from child to grandchild, throughout the generations for more than 3,000 years. Today the Torah will be passed down to Genevieve from a different Joshua and from Mary and from Amy, as she takes the Torah into her arms and into her heart. We recognize that she is now Bat Mitzvah, a responsible young leader of our community, capable of teaching Torah and herself passing it down to others.
This is our Torah. Its words are the same ones that our parents and our grandparents read. In all times, in all places, its words never change. May our children and grandchildren and their children and grandchildren read its words as well.
The service for reading the Torah begins on page 139. For the honor of an aliyah to open and close the ark, we call Karen Stagliola, Julia Workman, and Gavin Workman. And we also call up Amy and Josh and Mary to pass the Torah down to Genevieve. Page 139.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ben k'maasacha, malchutecha malchut, kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai himloch, le'olam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amohitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, amarachamim, eitiva mitzoncha et Zion, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, ki v'cha levad batachnu, melech elam v'nisa, Adon olamim.
Please rise.
Vayehi b'nso Aharon, vayomer Moshe, kuma Adonai, v'yafutzu oevecha, v'yanusu mesanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion
Genevieve, as we stand here today, I think about how much you've grown. Not just physically, but as a human being. We've seen you grow emotionally and spiritually. We've watched you go from an extremely shy, introverted little girl to a thoughtful, intuitive young lady. Since day one, you've always had that same look in your eye when the wheels are turning and you're just trying to put things into understanding. We see you, Genevieve. You are a star that burns bright. You're a perfectionist. It's your goal to strive to be on top of your own game. We watch you overthink every possible situation and sometimes the stress that comes along with that. Be nice if you could put those qualities into the cleanliness of your bedroom. As you grow, the teenage attitude is coming out. Although it might not seem like it, we're enjoying every moment. Some days can be tough, but we're also watching you with your younger siblings. You're sweet, imaginative, loving, and it shows us what to look forward to in the future. Genevieve, what makes you you is your kindness, empathy, gratefulness, and determination. You have so much more to learn and grow, and we can't wait to see the outcome. We know that today is at the top of your list of anxieties. You're going to be great. We love you.
On page 141, please repeat after Genevieve.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shema.
Gadol Adonai Iti, Unerome Bashemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Hagedula v'Hagevura v'Hatiferet v'Hanetzach v'Hod, Ki Chol Bashamayim u'Va'aretz, Ki Chol Bashamayim u'Va'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'mitnaseh lechol herosh. Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu, v'hishtachavu, le'adom raglav kadoshu. Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu, v'hishtachavu, le'hakodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
Please be seated.
That's right, I rolled it the other day, so it should be there. I know I checked it out after your study.
All right, well, so as you know, this service was originally supposed to take place 4 weeks ago. A little something got in the way, but it's all right now. But one question raised by postponing the date of Genevieve's Bat Mitzvah service was what she should read from the Torah. You may know that the Torah is divided into weekly portions that are read in order throughout the year, so that in the course of a year we read through the entire Torah. So Genevieve worked diligently to prepare to read the Torah portion that was going to be read on January 8th. However, once the date had to be changed, we knew that the regular weekly portion that would be read today would be something different from what she had originally studied. But we didn't want to make her learn a whole new portion. You're welcome. In just this last month. So she'll be reading the portion that she originally learned. However, lest anyone think that we are reading the wrong portion, I want to explain that Jewish tradition allows us to read any section from the Torah at any time, as long as we also read something first from the current portion, from this week's portion. So we're going to begin this morning with David reading some verses from the current portion of this week, and then we'll follow with Genevieve. We'll jump ahead, or jump back actually, to the portion that was read 4 weeks ago, the sections that Genevieve learned, and so we are good, we're covered. So David will be reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 25, starting with verse 1.
Page 545 in the big Chumash book. If you have this book, if you have any of these. No, it's the big book, not the little ones. This book. If anyone wants one, they're in the back. Someone will get them. Ya'amdu David Pesach ben Chana v'Levi v'Chana bat Miriam v'Yosef la'aliyah harishona. David Glazer and Amy Glazer. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bacha Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe Lemor. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yikuli teruma me'et kol ish asher yidvenu libo tikhu et terumati v'zot ha-teruma asher tikhu me'itam zahav v'chesef u'nechoshet.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
All right, so that portion was from Exodus chapter 25. We're now jumping back to Exodus chapter 10, from the building of the tabernacle to the plagues in Egypt. So we're going to roll a little bit. So we might get close. There's Paro.
Yep, there it is.
If you're in the books, it's on page 407, chapter 10, starting with verse 21. That's where Genevieve is going to be reading, page 407.
Ya'amdu Yoshua ben Chana v'Levi v'Malka bat Abraham v'Sara, Josh Glazer and Mary Glazer. La'aliyah ha'shniyah.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai
Hambarak.
Hamborach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher B'kavanu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomer Adonai al Moshe, V'teyad ha'al Shemayim, V'hi Hoshe al Eretz Mitzrayim, Vayemesh Hoshe, Vayet Moshe et yado al Shemayim, Vayehi Hoshe afela, V'kol Eretz Mitzrayim shalosh yamim, Lo ra'u ish et ahiv, V'lo kanu ish mitavto shalosh yamim, Uhu b'nei Yisrael haya or b'nei shvotam.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Talmud, Talmud, Talmud HaBachorah HaBat Mitzvah, Miriam Bat Yehoshua V'Malka La'aliyah HaShlishit. Genevieve, Workman.
And this aliyah will begin with verse 24.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayikra Pharaoh el Moshe, Vayomer lehu ivdu et Adonai, Sanhem u'mekarhem yitzah, Kaptahem yelei imahem. Vayomer Moshe, Gamata titain biadeinu sivahim ve'elo, Va'asinu Adonai Eloheinu, V'gam mikneinu yelei imanu, Lo tisha'er parsa ki mimenu nikah, Va'avod Adonai Eloheinu, Va'anaknu l'neda, Va'anavod Adonai Adonai Shama. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tohenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. In celebration of Genevieve being called to the Torah for the first time, let's join in singing Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, for giving us life and sustaining us. We might celebrate this joyous and sacred time together. All right, beautiful. You can sit down. It is customary while the Torah is out to offer a special blessing, a prayer on behalf of those who are ill, our loved ones and friends who are struggling physically or spiritually or emotionally. Today in our congregational family, we think particularly of Judy Alpert, Michael Barker, Phyllis Burke, Teresa Budd, Arthur Campbell, Tony Casella, Mike Cohen, Carol Dolan, Valerie Frank, Jonathan Gardner, David Glazer, Marilyn Hoffman, Sandy Hoffman, Rose Jones, Nathan Kaufer, Melvin Lipman, Nancy Mayer, Janice Mussman Albertini, Albert Schechterman, Michael Schreiber, Iris Sherman, Judy Shapiro, Steve Walensky, Devorah Bat Yaakov Vishurli, Yonina Bat David HaKohen V'Sara. If there's someone for whom you are concerned today whose name you'd like to mention aloud, I invite you to say that person's name now. We hold in our hearts all of our friends and loved ones who are ill as we join in our prayer for healing, Misha Berach, on the inside back cover of the Siddur.
Misha Berach. blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, renewal of body, renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Yamdu Hamagdir Hagolelet, Julie Slavitt, and John Walber.
Please rise as we lift and dress the Torah.
Ready?
That's cheating.
V'zot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Morasha kehilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. You may be seated.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
The Torah portion that I chanted today is named Bo. This means go in Hebrew, which is the word that God says to Moses when sending him into the land of Egypt to make Pharaoh let the Israelites go. The Israelites have been stuck in Egypt for many years as slaves. Moses and Aaron have been begging Pharaoh to let them go, but he wouldn't, so God cast a plague upon the land of Egypt. And this repeated many times until Pharaoh couldn't take the plagues any longer, so he decided to let the people go. But right when the Israelites were about to leave, he changed his mind and decided that he would not let them go. More plagues struck the land, and they grew worse and worse. This leads us to the part of the portion I chanted, when God sent a ninth plague, darkness. What I find interesting about this section of the Torah is how the decisions of the Egyptians affected their way of living. This is shown when the Egyptians are suffering through the thick darkness in the land of Egypt because of their leaders' choices, and while they are suffering in their land, the Israelites are enjoying the light in their own dwellings. One lesson that we can learn from this is that sometimes other people's choices might affect us even if we have not done anything wrong. An example of this is when Pharaoh kept deciding not to let the people go, even though Moses and Aaron kept asking him, and even when God sent the other 8 plagues upon the land of Egypt. Because of Pharaoh not letting the Israelites go, darkness was cast upon the land, including the other people of Egypt whose decision it was not. The same issue of people suffering due to other people's decisions is shown in the real world when earlier generations might have polluted the water and land with toxic chemicals and trash. Future generations will have to live with the outcome of their decisions. Like Pharaoh decided to say no to Moses, our previous generations continue to say no to being responsible. The Egyptians were scared and helpless for 3 days, just like how people today are scared of getting sick or causing animals, fish, and the land that we plant food in to be unhealthy. The Egyptians came out of their 3 days of darkness only to have a much worse of a plague put on them, the 10th plague, the death of their children. It's important that we come out of this era of pollution knowing that we need to act responsibly and quickly so that our next plague is not worse. Some things that we can do together to stop this problem is learning to take care of the earth, recycling recyclable products instead of putting them into the trash or picking up the trash from other people. Doing very small things could help the earth so much. In conclusion, just like the Egyptians, we should be able to control our own decisions for better outcomes. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Genevieve. It's such a great message that you gave us about how decisions have consequences. And especially when we're all connected to each other, our decisions have consequences for other people, and other people have their decisions have consequences for us. And I particularly loved how you connected it. You know, in Egypt, we were talking about Pharaoh's decisions having consequences for the other Egyptians right there at the time, but you really expanded that to think about how our decisions today have consequences for future generations. And the way we take care of this world is going to make it either possible or impossible for future generations to live. And so I hope that you, I appreciate how you illustrated our current plagues and warned us about the future plagues if we don't make better decisions. So thank you for teaching us that. We continue now with the Haftarah portion, the prophetic portion for this Shabbat. Actually for the previous Shabbat. The portion, the one that goes with Bo.
This Haftarah portion comes from the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah warns the Egyptians that the Babylonians are coming to Egypt and they are going to destroy the land. This connects to my Torah portion because both of them are about the destruction of Egypt with the 10 plagues and Pharaoh and then the attack from the Babylonians. This Haftarah can teach us that there will always be some form of war or disagreement between countries, but how we prepare ourselves and respond is what makes the difference. For example, when Egypt was warned of the conflict that was about to happen soon, if they had prepared themselves for what was going to happen to them, they might have been able to avoid it, but they didn't. Maybe we can do better in listening to the warnings that we get.
Page 427.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar bin v'im tovim v'ratzav v'divrehem hane'amarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Eloher b'torah Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Hadavar asher diber Adonai el Yirmiyahu hanavi lavo u'v'hadrat tzar melech Bavel lehako eretz Mitzrayim hagidu v'Mitzrayim v'ashmi'u v'nigdol v'ashmi'u v'naf u'v'tachpan heis imru yiyatzef v'hahein la Ki abda erev seviveha, madua nisaf abireha, lo amad, ki Adonai hadafo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, sorko ha'olamim, sadik kol hadirot, ha'el ha'na'eman, Ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayim, shekol derav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanveim v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, l'kedusha v'limnua, l'havod u'tifaret, ahakol Adonai Eloheinu, enaknu modim la u'mvorchim ota, yibarach shimha b'fi kol ha'tami l'olam v'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
And we continue now with a prayer for Israel.
O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen.
We come back now to our prayer books on page 153. As we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark, for the honor of an aliyah to open the Ark, we call Charlotte and Natalie Glazer. Well, at least Charlotte. All right, ready? Please rise.
Yahallelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tilot lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael hankirubo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Page 154 at the bottom.
Eitz Chaim hi, Ramach Azikim ba, Letom Teha, Merushar, Deracheha, Darchei Noam, B'chol Nezivoteha, Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha b'nashua, Kadesh Yameinu
Please remain standing as Genevieve and I go to the Ark for a private blessing.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past, and we are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Ledor vador nagid god lecha, Ledor vador we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. L'dor vador nagid gon lecha, l'dor vador we protect this chain, from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name. L'dor vador nagid gon lecha, l'dor vador we protect this chain, from generation to generation. L'dor vador these lips will praise your name.
We turn to page 183 as we continue with Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gidula le'yotzer b'reshit, shelo asanu kiboyei ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamona, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, שרודות השמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומשה מקרוב בשמיים בימה, ושכינת זו בגובי מרובים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ומלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל
seated. As we prepare for Kaddish, we recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Today in our congregational family, we especially remember Dr. Alan D. Weiner, father of Marty Weiner, for whom we are still in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. And our congregational family remembers with special affection our loved ones whose Yartzeichen will occur this coming week. Sammy Margolin, grandfather of Megan Glinner, Dean Meltzer, brother of Barry Meltzer, Gladys Lerner, grandmother of Robert Keller. If you are remembering someone today, I invite you to say that person's name aloud now. Zichronam livracha. May the memories of all our dear ones be a blessing. If you're saying Kaddish in someone's memory today, we ask you to rise now. In loving support of the mourners, we rise as a congregation. In gratitude to God for the gift of the lives of their loved ones, those who are in mourning and those remembering someone, say Kaddish on page 184. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabba, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach la'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, amiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort all of the bereaved. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure now to call on Craig Barger, our president, to make a special presentation.
Shabbat Shalom. Genevieve, I'm absolutely honored to be representing the TCS Board of Directors and the entire congregation today. You may not know this, but your grandmother and I have known each other for many years, more than we would want to admit, I think. Has she ever told you about her teaching history, or has she? Did she ever talk to you about Pilgrim Center? No? Oh, you got to ask her about Pilgrim Center. Because when I worked for DYS, she worked for Pilgrim Center. That's how we got to know each other, and then through this synagogue as well. Great stories. She has great stories. Right? Amy? Genevieve, mazel tov to you and your family on this wonderful occasion. You should feel extremely proud of all that you have accomplished. In addition to working extremely hard to lead these services so beautifully today, I know that your sisters and your family are important to you. I understand that you may have excelled with your schoolwork as well as preparing for your bat mitzvah. We at Temple Chai Shalom are so proud to see students like you who have begun our religious school in the very early years blossom into an amazing young woman who graces our bima today. We at Temple Chai Shalom are so proud to see I think I just reread that one, okay. Becoming a bat mitzvah today is a major milestone in the eyes of Jewish law and tradition in regard to the many mitzvot and rituals you now become responsible to uphold. It is our hope here at Temple Chai Shalom that you will continue your Jewish education with us through confirmation, and that you will look upon these years as the foundation for your Jewish life that lies ahead of you. To help you achieve this, I would like to present you with the following. This is your certificate of bat mitzvah. And from the Brotherhood, I think my wife put this in here somewhere. The Kiddush cup, is that the Kiddush cup, Elaine? Yeah, that's the Kiddush cup of your very own. The Kamash is from the Sisterhood. You can put it all back in, it's okay, you don't have to carry it. This is from the Sisterhood and Senior High. And there's also in here somewhere, it's in the same envelope, is a $250 gift certificate toward a Texi URJ trip to Israel. Mazel tov to you and congratulations. You did a beautiful job. There you go, put this back in there now. That's good. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Craig. I just want to emphasize one other thing that everyone here knows, but I just feel the need to sort of acknowledge it today, and that is, Genevieve worked really hard to prepare for today, and it's awesome how that part of it by itself. But preparing for January 8th, and then going on pause, and then having to sort of restart and keep everything, there's an extra level of difficulty and challenge that not everyone has to face, and the poise and determination that it takes to do that and then to lead so beautifully today is really sort of above and beyond what we ordinarily see. So I just want to applaud you for that and sort of publicly acknowledge it, even though I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but still I just want you to know that we see it and we admire that in you as well. So we are coming to the end of our service. In just a moment, we'll join in our closing song on page 187, which will be Adon Olam, and then Charlotte and Natalie have one more very important role to play today, and that is that there is a custom at the conclusion of a service like this that we shower the person who is celebrating with candy as a symbol of the sweetness. It's important that this be a light, gentle shower and not the sleet and hail and everything that we saw in these last couple of days. So what's going to happen is that after we sing Adon Olam, Charlotte and Natalie are going to distribute candy to the congregation, and then Charlotte is going to lead us in Kiddush. At the end of Kiddush, I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov, and that will be your cue to gently toss your candy with a nice underhanded lob, nice high arch. Yeah, you can loosen up for that underhand, Uncle David. That's good. And then after I say Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov, that will be your cue to toss your candy in Genevieve's direction. And then anyone who wants to come up and gather the candy and enjoy it at that point. So, but for now, we're on page 187, Adon Olam.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
Nasa,
Leit Nasa,
V'chefza Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'yacharei Kikol Takol, Levado Yimlok Nora Adon Olam, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoven, V'hu Yiyeh B'kipara Adon Olam, Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malach,
Asher Malach,
B'terem Kol,
B'terem Kol,
Yitzir Nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
Nasa,
Leit Nasa,
Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam, V'hu Echad, V'ein Sheni, Lehamshilo, Lehavbira Adon be'et zara adon olam, ve'unisi, umanosli, v'nakosi b'yom ekra adon olam, adon olam,
Adon Olam, Asher Malach,
terem kol,
Terem Kol,
yitzir nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
ve'et nasa,
Veit Nasa,
Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam, biyado afki ruchi, be'en ishan be'a'ira adon olam, be'im ruchi yeliyati, Adonai li ve'lo ira adon olam, adon olam,
Adon Olam,
asher malach,
Asher Malach,
terem kol,
Terem Kol,
yitzir nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
li'et nasa,
Veit Nasa, Veit
Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam.
Okay, Charlotte and Natalie, if you would come up here, I'll give you the candy basket. Here. And meanwhile, we are continuing on page 315 as we get ready for Kiddush with the Shamru. Towards, not at. Oh, it's like a dream, right?
Bishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. בשמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Elken Baruch Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'yikadshehu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Barei b'ri hagafen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Mazel Tov. Shabbat Shalom. Now you can come clean up the candy and take it, enjoy it, and Mazel Tov.
Beautiful job, Genevieve.
Fabulous, Genevieve. Wonderful.